The Canadian Space Agency recently awarded $150,000 to Vancouver-based Metaspectral to analyze data from low Earth orbit satellites to measure greenhouse gas emissions. Now, if you follow our work on this area, it's a big problem. You can't mitigate CO2 or methane if you can't measure it. So I'm going to talk to Metaspectral co-founder and CTO Migel Tissera about their technology. So welcome to the interview, Migel.
Thanks for having me.
Now, we've only been taking methane emissions seriously 2 or 3, 4 years. I've interviewed other experts, and they always say, first of all, we have to measure it. Once we measure it, then we can begin reducing it. We know where the leaks are coming from. We know what the volumes are, and so on. Explain your technology and how it helps to measure greenhouse gases at the Earth's surface, please.
Yeah, certainly. If we take a step back, Markham, and look at the global landscape, there's really two methods of measuring greenhouse gases. One is using satellites that measures the top of the atmosphere carbon or the greenhouse level, and the other ones are field deployed units. So the issue here is when you do field deployed sensors, they can't scale because they're very localized. And the satellites that are existing right now, they measure the top of the atmosphere carbon rather than Earth's surface level carbon, the greenhouse gases. So the technology that we've created is using satellites, but a very special sensor called a hyperspectral sensor. And that can measure the surface level carbon level using an AI model. And that can also scale.
Right. And doing it at the local level with handheld instruments, which is the way it's been done for years, maybe it gets done once or twice a year, and emissions can change between then. You can have a change in a day. Your emissions can go up or down. So you don't get accurate levels, and that of course affects inventories. It affects company specific emissions. It's a big problem. So how close are you to deploying this technology and scaling it up at a commercial scale?
Yeah, so the funding that we got from the space agency, that was for early stage research. It's kind of 5 to 7 year time horizon to hit scale, but we're pretty close. We are already achieving 3% error margin on our predictions on CO2 level. So we should be ready within 2 years to really scale up the software solution.
And what is your innovation? Is it the sensor? Is it the AI? What exactly is it?
It's the AI. It's the deep learning model that we trained to take hyperspectral data from any sensor, as long as it fits within the electromagnetic range we're looking at. And that's really the AI model is our key innovation here.
Okay. And so it can measure emissions from oil and gas pipelines, from deep water drilling activity, other kinds of hazards. Have I got that right?
Yes, yes. So any location where a hyperspectral satellite passes, we can measure and quantify all the greenhouse gas levels. So right now we can quantify carbon dioxide and methane. And we're in the process of expanding it to carbon monoxide, so and so forth.
Now, we've done interviews with experts about carbon credits, which are very controversial in some circles, because let's say that you have a forest and you assume that that's a carbon sink, but how do you measure that? And is it really a carbon sink? Because without measurement, you can't know, and under certain conditions, it might not be. It might actually be emitting carbon. And will your technology allow accurate enough measurement that then it enables carbon credit markets?
Yes, yes. That's actually one of the immediate business applications of our software solution, is to really quantify the carbon sequestration level. Then you can get into the carbon tax credits that the US have already rolled out and Canada is in the process of doing. We can definitely measure up to 3% error margin.
Okay. Now, National Resources Canada has an inventory of Canadian greenhouse gases. And will your technology contribute to that inventory? And will it, will it clarify existing or that's the word I'm looking for, and clarify, but more accurately measure the sources of emissions that currently go into that inventory? Are there implications there?
Yeah. So we use a ground sensor network called Total Carbon Column Observing Network, and that is highly sophisticated instruments measuring the total carbon column. But there's only about 30 sites all around the world. So what we do is we use that network to really as a validation point, to use that as our validation point to our predictions. And once that is within the error margins that we're happy with, we can roll it out to everywhere. So we certainly can provide data to all these archives and the repositories. But predominantly right now, we're just working with the space agency.
Right. So what are your plans over the next 2 to 5 years, maybe even 10 years, once your technology is perfected? I assume you're getting a fair amount of interest from customers and potential clients. How big can your technology get?
Yeah, pretty big, Markham. So what we're doing right now, the immediate focus is to not only use satellite data, but also just convert whatever we have, the AI models, to also work with aerial data. So the issue with satellite data is it's great, it's a great tool, it gives wide swath coverage, but the issue is that it can't really see through clouds. So if it's a cloudy day, you can't really get the carbon predictions. But by using aerial data, so flying at, let's say, 100-meter altitude, we are way below the clouds in that case. So what we are trying to do now is to convert all the AI models that we've developed for the satellite data space and also apply it to aerial data. So we have a way to image, doesn't matter what weather condition it is, we can perform imaging and we can do the quantification. It also serves another purpose, whereas the satellites provide wide swath coverage, the resolution is pretty small because you're flying at about 400 to 500 kilometer altitude. So when you fly lower, the resolution is very high, meaning we can target individual farm level. And with satellites, we can target country level, provinces, regional, and then we can go really detailed level into farm level activity by flying drones. So we're combining satellite and drone data and building out this platform where you can get carbon measurements at very detailed granular level.
Great. Well, Miguel, good luck with your company and the development of your technology. And thank you very much for this.
Thank you for having me.